Welcome in, Ravens flock, and we are finally here. Playoff football in the Divisional Round, no less, which the Ravens have earned by having not only the best record in the AFC, but the NFL as well. I'm Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and this will be your preview for the Ravens versus Texans matchup, or rematch if you want to look at it that way. Though, as we will discuss, these two teams look very different than the first time they faced each other in the opening week of the season. The Texans have blossomed into a great young team under their first-year head coach DeMeco Ryan and on the arm of rookie sensation CJ Stroud. The Ravens, as we know, are not lacking in the success department this year under John Harbaugh, due in large part to the efforts of the soon-to-be two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. Both of these teams are out to prove themselves, one team an unexpected contender full of youth and budding potential, the other filled with a mixture of young talent and experienced veterans who want to make the most of the opportunity in front of them that they've worked for all season. Who in this game will push their team over the edge and take them to the AFC Championship game? Let's get to it.
They're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that. I'm a Raven. It's on. All year. Every year.
So, like I said in the intro, these two teams are not the same as when they met in week one. But what is the same are the quarterbacks leading them. So let's take a look at how each has done over the past few weeks of the season. Starting with CJ Stroud. Basically, improvement, improvement, improvement. That's been the story of CJ Stroud this season, and even over the last three games, he's improved in one way or another. In each of the last three games, he's been completing 75% or more of his passes. He's also thrown 6 touchdowns with no interceptions over that span for 751 yards. At 22 years and 102 days old, he's also the youngest quarterback ever in NFL history to win a playoff game, and his team didn't just win that game, they dominated it. Stroud put up almost 300 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns against a Browns team that in the regular season was ranked first against teams in passing yards allowed. Oh, and as you can see, he had nearly a perfect passer rating while doing it. This guy is on fire coming into Baltimore, so the defense better be ready. Now, as good as Stroud has been, Lamar, if possible, has been better. And don't get me wrong, the Titans, Colts, and Browns were formidable opponents. But for Lamar's last 3 games, he handily defeated 3 division leaders in a row. And just like Stroud, he got better with every game. The Jags game was not as clean as the last two, but just for the box score watchers to know, Lamar took over that game with his legs and his arm. What I don't have up on the graphic here is that Lamar also ran the ball 12 times for 97 yards at 8.1 yards per attempt in the Jacksonville game. And while the media may have finally given Lamar and the Ravens their due for the victories over 49ers and Miami, it still doesn't do justice to the impact those 2 games had at this point in the season. The win over the 49ers was a complete game by all 3 units on this team against the best team in the NFC and to some, the best team in the whole NFL. The Miami win awarded the Ravens with the number 1 seed in the AFC, but that win also proved that the Ravens were undeniably the best team in the NFL, defeating both the NFC's number 1 team as well as the only true contender for the number 1 seed in the AFC. And Lamar wasn't just along for the ride, he was the driver. Now, let's talk about the offense for the Texans, which we saw on full display this past Saturday, racking up 45 points on one of the league's best defense. Now, the defense helped that score just a bit, but, we'll get back to that in a bit. The offense for the Texans team is balanced, which, again, those people looking at the 76 rushing yards on the box score may not understand that it matters how and when you get those yards. With Singletary ripping off a 29-yard run in the first quarter and flipping the field completely, it meant that the Browns couldn't just pin their ears back and rush Stroud on every play. They had to respect the run now as well, and for the rest of the game. And in the passing game, it may be Nico Collins who leads the way for the receivers, but in last week's game, there was still a balance present as 9 players were targeted, with 7 making at least 1 reception. There may be no Tank Dell or Noah Brown, but Houston just showed it can win with Collins, Mechie, and Schultz. For the Ravens offense, they also have a balanced game plan, and while they did have success on the ground against Jacksonville and Miami, they had a season low against the 49ers and a second lowest against the Steelers. Now, the 49ers rank 3rd in rushing yards allowed, but the Steelers were only 19th. The Texans are 6th in yards allowed and 2nd in yards per attempt allowed, and we just saw them hold the Browns to 56 yards on the ground. I know I may have said this a few times this season, but it feels like this is going to be a game where the Ravens may have to use the passing attack to open up the run game. Luckily, the last few times I said that, they did, and they were very successful at it. I think of the Detroit Lions game specifically. With guys like OBJ likely and of course Zay Flowers, this passing attack is just as if not more threatening than the run game. With Zay back at practice and him not missing any time yet this season, it's a pretty good indication he will play on Saturday. But as I said earlier, it's all about the balance and using your own tendencies against them to confuse their defense and keep them guessing. The Ravens put up a combined 89 points on the 49ers and the Dolphins, so I'm excited to see what they can do in yet another challenging game. But the guys that are going to be posing that challenge are the Texans' defensive players. And while I did praise them for their run stuffing ability, they're going to have to play a great game in coverage as well. The Texans' defense, while ranking in the bottom third in passing yards allowed at 23, steps his game up when it comes to allowing passing touchdowns, where it's the best in the league, allowing only 17 over the whole season. As Ravens fans know, a good pass rush will help a coverage unit a lot, and with Jonathan Grenard, Will Anderson, Malik Collins, and Sheldon Rankins, the Ravens' offensive line is going to have their work cut out for them on Saturday trying to keep Lamar upright. The most important thing for the Ravens' offense is to try and take advantage of what will be the sparing but effective use of Lamar Jackson's legs, not simply for designed runs, but his ability to escape pressure and make a play outside the pocket. If the Ravens can consistently keep a pocket for Lamar, this game is going to be a long one for the Texans' defense. Even if they can't, but Lamar can escape the pressure of the Texans' pass rush, it's going to be another game where Lamar frustrates and exhausts a defense, making them easier to run on by the third and fourth quarter. The Ravens have too many options and playmakers on offense for the secondary of the Texans to handle for an entire game. The Ravens' defense that Stroud will be facing is not the same one of the Browns that he just saw last week. While the Browns may have Myles Garrett, who has 14 sacks on the season, the next highest contributor in that regard is Zadarius Smith with 5.5. So while it is impressive that the Texans were able to completely negate Garrett's impact on the game, it's going to be a lot harder to stop the three different Ravens who all have at least 9 sacks on the season, with Matabike plowing up the middle and Clowney and Van Noy crashing off from the sides. Stroud is going to have to get the ball out quicker than Tua and Purdy did to not end up on his back more than the 5 times he did the first time he faced this Ravens defense, who have not slowed down at all this season when getting to the quarterback. Now, the spine of this defense is full of Pro Bowlers and playmakers, with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in the middle, and behind them, Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone, and Marcus Williams. With Marlon Humphrey missing practice all week, I doubt he plays, but the Ravens faced a Tyreek Hill-led Miami offense without him and did pretty well, I'd say. Now, I know Waddle was out of that game, but without Dell and Brown for Houston, I'd say that's a pretty similar handicap to this Texans offense. Now, for each team, there are a few keys to victory that I'm going to go over that I think will turn the tide for them if they can make this happen. So we're going to start, as usual, with our opponents, the Texans. Number 1, get Lamar on the ground. Now, I know it's easier said than done, and sitting in my computer chair, I can't fathom doing any of that, but this is the playoffs and nothing's going to be easy. Facts are facts, and letting Lamar throw from the pocket or escape pressure and make a play on the move is how many teams got down early and often against this Ravens offense this year. Number 2, Ravens D is still not stopping the run. Games where these teams have had good run games against the Ravens, they've fared a lot better. With only 4 losses on the season, it's tricky to say that, but in 3 of their losses, they gave up 139 to the Colts, 178 to the Browns, and 155 to the Steelers. In some of their more dominant wins like Detroit and Seattle, they gave up only 84 and 28 yards respectively. Number 3, making the Ravens one-dimensional. I said earlier how good Texans are against the run, and they're going to need to be. The Ravens love nothing more than getting up early and literally running out the clock. But if those 5 and 6 yard runs on first down turn into 2s and 3 yard runs, it's going to bring up a lot more third and long situations, which helps the pass rush and helps get the Ravens offense off the field. Number 4, use Singletary in the passing game. I know this seems obvious, but backs who can catch the ball and get yards after catch do pretty well against the Ravens. Think of McCaffrey, Warren, and Kyron Williams to name a few. But now let's move on to the Ravens' keys to victory. So number 1, spread the ball out. I said this before the 49ers game, and it still applies. In games where the Ravens get more pass catchers involved, they perform better every single time. Number 2, get creative when blitzing. Well, the Ravens don't blitz very often this season, but if they want to get pressure or a sack on Stroud, try to confuse him and with looks that he doesn't know. He may be a very good quarterback, but he's also still a rookie. Number 3, don't give up on the deep ball. Lamar and OBJ have connected deep, Lamar and Likely have connected deep, and Lamar and Zay have connected deep. Taking deep shots will open up the middle of the field and let guys like Bateman and Aguilar work there with less traffic. And number 4, don't let Collins beat you. We saw how Nico Collins used his speed to make the Browns look straight up foolish, but we don't want to be them. Learn from others' mistakes, and the one thing that Ravens have done well all season on defense is limiting big plays down the field. Let someone else beat you. So, just like you all, I'm excited for this game, and while I do believe the Ravens will win, I also think the score is going to be closer than I've seen some other people predicting. There may be some rust, or at least a slow start to the offense at the beginning of the game, and we may miss Humphrey out there, but once Lamar and the offense start clicking again, it's going to be hard to stop them. I see a final score being something along the lines of 31 to 24 Ravens, and 14 of the 24 coming in the first half from the Texans. I really want to thank you guys for all of you that have subscribed. I can't believe that I've already made it over 500 subscribers just during this season. And I have a special video that I'm working on that'll be out in a few days, so be on the lookout for that. And if you haven't already, please feel free to like the video and subscribe for more. Anyway, I look forward to watching this game and reacting to it along with you all. And as always, guys, stay safe out there and go Ravens.